My first AT project was developing a real-time rendering technique inspired by spaghetti westerns. The overall goal was to use Unreal Engine to replicate the look of spaghetti western movies, with key focuses on color grading and using camera effects to replicate the general feel as well as the aesthetic. Before starting the project, I spent time researching. Often, vivid earthy tones such as red, brown, and yellow are used. Harsh sunlight produces deep shadows, and wide-angle shots and panoramic views create an open feel, replicating the landscapes of the movies. Rendering techniques that would apply to recreating this include color grading, film grain, chromatic aberration, as well as simulating strong directional light within the editor and applying multiple camera effects such as depth of field and wide angles. I also carried out technical research in what could be done in Unreal Engine. It features many effects that you can put on cameras, such as film grain, color grading, and vignetting and chromatic aberration. Within the scene, I would also recreate the directional lighting and the high contrast, using deep shadows to emphasize the drama of the scene. The software that I used was Unreal Engine, but I also took a look at effects within Film Convert and DaVinci Resolve, as there are lots of useful resources on recreating the look of old movies. Within the project, a simple map was created. This would allow me to see how the effect was coming along, as well as seeing it related to objects that would be found in Western movies. First, the intensity and colour of the directional light was altered until it felt warm, matching the feel of a desert. Then, May and Rayleigh settings were used to create a general dusty atmosphere. A post-processing volume was set up, which adds additional colour and texture to the scene, using film grain matching the look of 35mm film from the era. A slight vignette was added to make the game visually look like an older product, matching how people picture old westerns. Colour grading was used to warm up the tones and saturations, using a lookup table that contained the actual colours that were visible on Technicolor film. Alongside this, I also boosted the contrast to make shadows pop more, which emphasized the dramatic look of the project. Simple gameplay was added in which the player can walk around, shoot at enemies, and observe the scene, as well as a day-night cycle. A post-processing effect was then added which replicated heat haze. This was achieved by passing a filtered normal across the screen at random translation and scales. Film artifacts were then implemented using a mask of several looping images of degraded film. This made the project look a lot more like actual movies from the era, as the film development process was not perfect. Overall, I believe this project succeeded at recreating the look of a Western. However, more could be done in order to build upon this. For instance, I think a light cell shader could be used to boost the contrast even more on shadows, as well as adding additional shadows to objects. This was messed around with, however, I feel its implementation was lacking in the scene and degraded from the overall effect. Additionally, this scene could be used as a basis to build a prefab or tool that could be placed in any Unreal Engine scene to replicate the look of both westerns and other films from this era. My second AT project was a virtual pet for chronic condition management. Type 2 diabetes requires daily tracking of food, exercise, and medication, things that often become repetitive and hard to maintain long term. The concept for this game would be to turn these behaviors into a virtual care system where your pet reflects how well you're looking after yourself. If you eat well, exercise, and take insulin, your pet thrives. If not, it starts to look sad or sick. The pet becomes a mirror of your health and habits. I looked at successful gamified health games such as Ring Fit Adventure, Pokemon Sleep, and Zombies Run. These inspired me to develop something that combines both fun and gamification with a serious matter. I also explored the use of virtual pets like Tamagotchis, and studies on how digital pets can create emotional connections and reduce stress. From this, I learned that simple emotional feedback can build accountability and habit formation. I decided to name this project DiaBuddy. Its main mechanic is logging, split across 3 different targets. On the main screen, the DiaBuddy can be seen, showing their current mood as well as a tooltip suggesting how to make them feel better. The first logging screen is for exercise. The player can select a type of exercise from this drop-down and input the amount of time completed. If they return to the progress screen, then their progress is shown. This updates along with the other logging systems. If they reach the desired amount of exercise, a pop-up will notify them that their Diet Buddy is proud and starting to feel better. Back on the main screen, you can see that the Diet Buddy's mood has changed. The next screen is the carb screen. An arbitrary range for the amount of carbs consumed is set here. However, in a full application, the user will be able to set their own range. The range is split between 3 different meals, and they must fall within the given healthy range in order to progress. Once they hit their target, another pop-up appears. Once again, the Diet Buddy's mood has increased. Finally, there's the insulin screen. It is set currently at 2 doses, but this will depend on the user and once again would be changed in the full application. Once the user has hit all their goals, they can go to the progress screen, where they are told that all of their goals are met. Although in a full application, it would measure the time for you. In this demo, if you click next day, it progresses. Now, if the user does this 2 days in a row, they unlock a cosmetic, as can be seen here. I will now demonstrate this. The streak is shown here, and the next reward unlocked is showed at the bottom of the screen. If they hit 1 more day of progress, then they will unlock a cosmetic. When the cosmetic is unlocked, a pop-up appears. It also tells the user to go to the cosmetic screen to equip it. The cosmetic can be toggled with a clear button. This cosmetic now shows up across every scene, and it also stays while the mood of the Diet Buddy increases. Further steps for this project would be implementing an actual time system, as well as a more complex system for things such as measuring carbs, exercise. Push notifications could also be implemented in order to remind the user to care for their Diet Buddy and themselves.